Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today's topic is living without expectations. This topic was brought to us by our channel member, Ramesh. Thank you very much. It was something in the back of my head that's bubbled up from time to time, and being the question was asked, it was a good time to answer this. But we a lot of times habitually have expectations. Particularly in our spiritual practices. We're doing this or that, and we're expecting something from it, and we're waiting for something to happen. Now, expectations arise because of several illusions that we're under, that we can control outcomes, that, that this is transactional. If I do this, I can get that. If I do this, I can cause that. Also, there's a lot of future seeking involved. I mean, fundamentally, expectations is a looking away from the now. So, when I tell people to be present, I've had people come back and they said, "Well, I've been present and then nothing happened," and it makes me laugh because you fundamentally cannot be present if you're expecting something else. In order to be present, you have to be okay with just this, the present. There's nothing else to get. There's no future that you're trying to get to. If you're expecting something, you're not really present. And so it's, in a lot of spiritual practices are this way. We think that if we do this, that, or the other thing, we can cause this. Well, for one, awakening, as I've said, cannot be caused. So let me just tell you right now, whatever you do isn't going to cause enlightenment. Now, some people will, even though I say this, don't want to believe it. And so there's this hope that they can cause it. And so they still keep expecting because they have hope that they can cause it or get this if they do it enough, or if they change up what they're doing, maybe they can get it to happen. And there's really nothing you can give them. There's no new technique that will cause it because nothing will cause it. And so what do you do with this expectation? Well, you need to consciously realize your expectation, that you have an expectation, and let it go. Just let it go. You don't need to expect. You can just focus on now, this moment. I mean, if you're meditating or whatever, don't expect anything from it. Have no purpose in meditating. Just meditate for the sake of meditation. No more, no less. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to change. There is this ability we have to consciously let things go, and I do suggest that. Now, a lot of expectation will fall away with awakening, because the expectation lies with the idea of me. The me is trying to get somewhere. The me is trying to get things to change. Well, then when there's no me, there's really not a lot of expectation either. And so expectation doesn't really need to be there. I mean, say you're playing a card game. Having no expectation doesn't mean you don't really care what you do. Having no expectation means you don't expect to win because because of the way I'm playing, or I'm trying to do this strategy, or whatever. I don't expect to win from it. One, can't cause it. I mean, you can try. You can do certain things to try to win the game, but to expect that you're going to win is kind of foolish. Expecting a win is just too much of an attachment on winning. I mean, that's basically very similar to needing to win. I expect to win, I need to win. But you can play sincerely, but not seriously. You can just play the game sincerely, trying to win, doing what you can to win, but not expecting to win and not really needing to win. You can just enjoy the game for the play that it is. It doesn't need to be any more than that. I mean, the important thing when you're playing is the play. Not what you get out of it, not what changes afterwards. And so quit trying to make it transactional. It's like, well, if I do this, I should get that. I mean, if somebody said, I'm buying this lottery ticket and I expect to win, we would think there's something wrong with their thinking. They might be a bit off the rocker, thinking that if they buy a ticket, they'll win. Expecting to win because you buy a ticket is really kind of foolhardy. And I've said in another video that seeing is a grace. I mean, we can look, but seeing happens of itself. We can look, but expecting to see because we look is kind of foolish. I mean, the best we can do is look, and looking will happen, seeing will happen or not happen. In the analogy I used earlier, where I said I asked my wife where was the ketchup, and she said it was the refrigerator door, and I look in the fridge. The best I can do is look. If I expect to find it and I don't find it, the expectation then causes dissatisfaction, discontent, suffering, and things like that. Because I didn't find it. And I looked. And you're expecting to see it. The seeing isn't particularly under your direct control. All you can do is look. Seeing is a grace. And so when I look in the fridge, I look. I don't expect to find it or expect not to find it. There's no expectation at all. I just look. And the finding or not finding, the seeing or not seeing, happens on its own. And that's partially what giving up expectation also is you're just letting the chips fall as they may. You're letting the present unfold as it will and kind of live in this mystery. You don't expect that the future or even what is to be other than it is. Expectations is really often turns into a subtle resisting and denying of reality, because expectations is really fundamentally the idea it should be like this. And as soon as you put in it should be like this, well then if reality is otherwise, reality is showing you it's not that way. And then your should is in direct conflict with reality. And then that creates this resisting and denying of reality. And we're like, well, it's not the way it's supposed to be. Don't you see it causes all this suffering and misery by having these expectations? There's a bit more of a laissez-faire way of living where you can just go, well, I'll do what I can. The outcome is not up to me. This is in a way like karma yoga. Karma yoga, when it's practiced, a lot of times one of their main practices is to act without any expectation of the fruits of action. It's like, I will do what I can, but I expect none of the results. The results will take care of themselves. The best I can do is do what I can. And so if you're trying to get a promotion at work, you can do good work, you can add value, you can do what you can to shine and try to get a promotion. But if you expect to be promoted, as time passes, the longer you're not promoted, the more it starts to grind, and make you miserable. Because you have this expectation, and then you have all this past. Well, look at all I've done to get this, and I haven't gotten it yet. And so this past adds weight to the future expectation. And you just end up just making yourself miserable. But in karma yoga, you'd go, well, I do what I can, and I'll get promoted or I won't. Let the chips fall as they may. All I can do is the best I can. And the results are not mine. It's a different way of looking at things. I mean, you can do the same with spiritual practice. You can go, well, I'll meditate, I'll be present, whatever. I'll do self-inquiry. And you just go, I'll do it simply for the sake of doing it. The results, what happens or doesn't happen isn't up to me. And I have no expectations. I'm not owed anything. This isn't a transaction. And so you start just meditating for the sake of meditation. Or, in the refrigerator analogy, as I said earlier, you look simply to look for the ketchup. Whether you find it or not find it isn't really up to you. And if you don't see, and I may tell my wife, I looked, but I don't see it. And if she walks right over and pulls it out of the fridge, what am I going to do? I could have looked longer, maybe. But sometimes you just don't see. It's not under your control. These expectations of future seeking, it's just constantly, I want something else. And when it comes to enlightenment, spiritual awakening, liberation, self-realization, pick your term, it is not about the future. Future seeking gets in the way. If anything, all this is about here and now, being here and now. And if you're trying to get anywhere else, or you're trying to get anything else, you're actually getting in your own way. Just be still, be silent, be very here and now, fully conscious. Look. Seeing will happen or not happen. But all you can do is look. Expecting a change and waiting for a change really gets in the way. Because it's, as I said, saying that what is now is not good enough. It's got to change. It shouldn't be this. Why? Why can't it be this? You can't control it. You can't control awakening and enlightenment. As long as you've got this idea that you can cause it in some way, that you can, make it happen, then there's always going to be the expectation. But if you give up entirely the idea that you can cause it, that anything you can do can cause it, why would you expect anything that you do to cause it then? But I think that's all I'm going to say on this topic. If you have any questions, comments, please post below. Thanks again, Ramesh, for the topic. And until next time, thank you much.